Told by an Idiot is a theatre company that I set up in 1993 with my two fellow idiots, Hayley Carmichael and John Wright. And over the last 27 years, we have, I suppose, created work out of artfully controlled chaos. And we remain dedicated to chaos. All of our work comes out of some kind of spontaneity or improvisation, and it makes no attempt to recreate reality. We're firmly of the belief that film and TV will always do that better than us. So it's a fully live experience, and we're fascinated by inhabiting the space between laughter and pain.
Are you worried that Greenwich and Docklands International Festival will be cancelled before you do the show?
No, I hadn't even thought about that. No! I'd be gutted, so no. I told you I'm an optimist. That's never going to happen.
I was actually working on another show that was co-produced with Told by an Idiot, and I had just got driven to Plymouth with Sophie Woolley, the writer and performer, and just as we reached the city limits, Boris came on the radio and said people should avoid theatres, and within an hour or so we cancelled the rest of the tour, and unfortunately that evening I developed pretty much all the COVID symptoms, and so I had to self-isolate for 3 weeks in Plymouth, sort of marooned on my own, which was quite different. My wife was in the third trimester for pregnancy at that point, and so knowing she was in London and I was stuck in Plymouth was quite tricky. So then we have various other measures, like we have face masks if anyone's forgotten to bring their own personal one in. We've got gloves. Sometimes it's not necessarily practical within a scene to wash hands properly, so sanitizer just gives us a really quick and easy way to keep safe. They actually use them as part of the action, so we have quite a fun COVID dance at one point where everyone does beautifully choreographed sanitizing.
I felt a bit like, oh, it'd be great, but it's not going to happen.
You thought it would be cancelled?
I'm quite an optimistic person. I've suffered from my optimism, and so I've tried to become more pragmatic, a bit more like my wife.
We got our temperature checked when we come in downstairs in the building, and there's a one-way system. Paul and the company were like, if anyone ever feels unwell, stay at home, unsafe, put your hand up and express it. It's such an open discussion because we're all going through this together. No one knows the right way to work.
Hi, welcome to Deptford Lounge. Got your face coverings on brilliantly. If you could make your way through, keeping social distancing, to the cross at the front where we'll take your temperature.
Good morning, will you please stand on the right cross and take temperature? You good? Thank you. If you could please scan the QR code for the track and trace system.
Please, sir, if you don't mind, just to wash your one in the first toilet, please.
I think this time where it's very hard to be together in any shape or form feels crucial that we find ways of being live with theatre. And if that means taking to the streets, a basketball court in Deptford or underneath a flyover in Thamesmead, then that's what we'll do.
I'm back, baby!
So it goes acrobatic troupe, big first potato, 2 men rip each other's clothes, first banister, 2 men dance off, second you like my hat, second potato, egg sandwich. I'll shout them out if we...
When we look at you like this.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Potato, 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 po. Potato, 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 potato. Jerome taught it to me via the interweb. He said I started to muck around a song about a potato, or someone said sing a song about a potato. I was thinking about an Italian one, and I was also distracted by the fact that female genitals are called potatoes too in Italian. Yeah, patatina, little potato. And so Jerome said, I know one, and so he went on the interwebs and he found me a funny potato song, which took me 2 days to learn.
How's it going now?
Nearly funny. Play is very serious, and to do something seriously, you have to be very playful. It's the two dualities of all things. You need the lightness of touch so that you can look into something quite profound, and you need to look at something seriously in order to find the funny. Yeah. You need two. You can't. Nothing operates as a singular. All things are this, aren't they?
The show is lots of episodes, mini scenes, sketches glued together. And it was inspired by Paul's 3-year-old's brain and how it moves into lots of different things and finds them funny and then drops them straight away. So that's what it feels like to do and to watch, I think.
Wouldn't it be great to make a show that somehow reflects that kind of spirit of imagination, which isn't doesn't tell a story, doesn't go through a through-line narrative, but just has that kind. And then I thought, well, I need a bit more than that to go into a room to start with. So I was looking at kind of inspirations, and a lot of the time in Toll By Minute we're looking for things which are unlikely bedfellows, which are deliberately feel a weird combination sometimes. So I got taken by 3 things: the work of the German choreographer Pina Bausch, a book called Go Dog Go, which I highly recommend. It's a brilliant book, and a Charlie Chaplin film, one film in particular called The Kid, in which he finds a little baby at the beginning and then grows up and he spends his time with this kid. And then my aim initially when we started to explore it was to create a kind of variety / sketch show for anybody who breathes.
That's all right.
Is that the most physical contact you've made with anybody in a while, Steve? Do you miss hugging?
Big time. Because that's the first thing you do when you come in a room, isn't it? To meet people. Give them a big hug. And then by the end, everyone's just like hugging and, oh yeah, I miss that big time.
When I was younger, I was always kind of dancing in the mirror, like watching Chris Brown, like really practicing kind of more isolated, the classic dance moves you see really on music videos. And I had a friend called Tyler who was in a breaking crew, and I knew that I kind of wanted to get into that, but I was a bit nervous to do it. And I eventually went to this breaking class and met the whole crew there, and I knew like straight away that I wanted to be a part of these guys. They were really, really cool. And so I trained and I trained and I trained. And I eventually joined the crew, which was called Newborn Crew. And then my friend Ryan, once we were at a park, and he was like, "What are you doing like in the future?" To be honest, I had no idea what I was going to do, to be fair. My dad was like an electrical engineer, so I was like, I'll just do that and join on that course. He's like, "You're such a performer, you should apply for the performing arts course." And he's like, basically, you'll get to dance every day, but you also have to sing and you also have to act. And I was like, I'm not singing and I'm not acting. I kind of started to really like the acting side a bit more than the dancing in a way. It was weird. I moved to London to do an acting course, and then I knew that I kind of wanted to carry on dancing. I thought I could do classes. And then in that acting course, the physical theatre lot came over from East 15, which is the school I graduated from, and we did a project together, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to leave and do this. And so I did. I left and I auditioned for the course and got in.
Your wife's called Jo.
Yeah.
And your son is called Jo.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, it's because I didn't name my wife. That was just something her parents did. It's Joanne, but she's always not like that. It's just Jo. And her dad was Joseph, and it's a family name. And I've always liked Joseph. And I just thought it would be funny saying, "Stop pooing in the garden, Jo." You know, things like that. It's about giving the impression of chaos, but having some points that you always hit. So you've got, that's the control. I've tried to break it down. So you create a simple version, a first draft, and then you kind of throw in something unpredictable.
Like actually unpredictable?
Yeah. So so what I do is often I say create a fight scene. I teach them how to do a bit of stage fighting. Then I say do it faster. And then I say, now we'll do some clothes ripping. So I'll bring some T-shirts that they have to rip. So you can't practice that, you just have to rip it. And then I might bring in some water bombs or just something to add something where they can't control the outcome. You just have to jump in and hope that something's going to happen. And when it goes wrong, it's often better. You don't have to act that spirit when a water bomb hits you in the colander. I don't have to act surprised or wet, because I am surprised and wet.
I had a dream the other day that I'd committed to us. I think it's because of all the corona stuff and us talking about, what we're going to do with the money that we've got and stuff. And I had a dream that Paul had said he was going to do this big show. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. That sounds brilliant. I'm really up for this. And I'd forgotten that it was my role to kind of manage the budget of it all. And I was like, this is brilliant. This show is great. It's massive. How have we... And I was like, that is something, I haven't put a budget together for it, and how are we? And it was one of those kind of anxiety dreams where you're like, oh my god.
Perfect. And your face, Sarah, is a delight. It is full of joy when you do that. It's made my morning. Where's Simon?
Are you going to bring that book
Simon,
forward?
is that a good position? Well, fine. Steve, that's fine.
I'll bring that.
And I don't know, where do the seats over here come round to? You just judge it, Steve. Glance over there, so make sure you're far enough downstage first. I think the key things are not trying to recreate an indoor environment. You'll never do that. Or not trying to change the outdoor environment you're in too much. So in our design, we have indoors have a beautiful floor cloth. We have these beautiful silks, all of which we've cut for outdoors. Because we're underneath a flyover in Thamesmead. I'm not going to try and pretend we're not. I think that's the beauty of it. We'll say we're doing this here, under this flyover.
How's your Daniel Goldberg?
He's squawky, but he's all right. He's down in the seaside with his nan and granddad and my wife. Just because I was going to be so busy with the show that we thought it'd be easier. She went down to her mum, so she's got a bit of support down there. So I'm finding myself cuddling baby-sized pillows, so I'm missing him a little bit.
To start that again, I want to see the buckets.
I have no time to watch that. No. Okay.
Go put some Frank Sinatra intro on and drown us out.
I don't want to hear that. I prefer Frank Sinatra. It's much more beautiful. I only like 1940s, 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
I don't like 70s.
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, enjoy your day. Thank you.
I also think the configuration for me becomes very important when you're outdoors. I wanted it completely in the round, and that's a very conscious decision which we're recreating almost in the round outdoors, because for me it's the most democratic of spaces, the round. Everybody's got a great view, and also it's kind of what happens on the street. If something happened on the street, we wouldn't all form an orderly queue of like end on. You'd make a circle round something, the way you would when there's a fight in the playground. You all make a circle to watch that, and I like that. So we've tried to recreate that spatial thing as well. Tom's tyres gone.
I think it's incredibly important to still bring entertainment to people, especially at these kind of times, because it's definitely the time that people need it.
Hello, and welcome to the Greenwich and Docklands International Festival. We want everyone to have a safe and enjoyable experience at the festival. So please, follow social distancing guidelines and keep safe distance apart. Wear a face covering at all times, over your mouth and nose, unless you are exempt. Make use of our hand sanitation stations. The show is about to begin, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the performance.
Preoccupati dai sì felice, tutti i problemi dietro da te. Urlale, dai sì felice, problemi dietro a te. E sono spente dai sì felice, e il gran padre ti tende la mano. Urlale, alleluia, dai sì felice, te la promessa ora arriviamo. E sono spente dai sì felice, e il gran padre ti tende la mano. Urlale, alleluia, dai sì felice, te la promessa ora arriviamo.
I am bacon, frying in a pan.
egg sandwich in Mandarin is Jidang San Minje. So I did my little Spanish lesson. Yo tengo un perro largo, which means I have a long dog.
Well, we're in Thamesmead underneath the flyover, famously where Stanley Kubrick filmed Clockwork Orange, of course, in Thamesmead. Hope we can bring some of that anarchy, although not all of it. It's quite dark, isn't it? Anyway,
so much fun, and the audience was so responsive and so generous. Even with masks on, they were giggling, and their body language was saying that they were having an amazing time. It was so much fun.